Our next presentation today is on advocacy training, making your voice heard on Capitol Hill. This is one of the most important political tasks that can be accomplished by citizens throughout the country, not only with your local elected officials, but with your state elected officials, and of course here in Washington, D.C. with your federal officials. People have been doing this for many years and have refined the techniques and the process and the manner by which to accomplish this task to be most effective as far as the advocacy you are attempting to make concerning an issue or policy. So we have two people that are going to be presenting today that are going to be describing the process. Later on this afternoon, we will be organizing the attendees and breaking up into groups and following the suggestions that are going to be made by our next two presenters. And then we're kicking you out the door and out into the halls of Congress to start knocking on the doors of selected congressional members in order to speak your voice on the issues that are important to us. So with that, we have two excellent presenters, ThaoMee Xiong, who's from Minnesota, the executive director of the Coalition of Asian American Leaders, and Judith Teruya, the executive director of CAPAC, who's a former aide to Congresswoman Grace Ming, and then also worked recently from the White House, coordinating with the Department of Justice with regard to hate crimes. So we have two very authoritative figures here today that are going to describe to you this process, and we welcome you now. And ThaoMee, I think you're going to go first.
So Judith and I coordinated our outfits. We're trying to demonstrate Asian American female power. So, woo! And the majority of the folks in the room are women anyway, so go Asian American women. They didn't share this earlier, but Asian American women really make the difference during elections. So I just want to let you know that. We show up more and we're much more progressive. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself, and then I'm going to hand it over to Judith, and we're going to tag team. And also, we only have 40 minutes, so we're going to do like a 30-minute really speed training with some role-playing, and then leave some time for Q&A because we have a hard stop at 12:30. Okay, just to give you guys a heads up in case you feel like we're rushing. So I'm from Minnesota. I've been doing legislative advocacy or lobbying for close to 25 years now. I started in 2009, and the federal policy that I'm most proud of is actually VAWA. We help to push visas, and VAWA is the Violence Against Women Act, and there was an immigration provision there for protections for victims of domestic violence as well as victims of crimes in general. And it was the only immigration provision that was able to pass in the last 20 years. And so the reason why we have such horrible immigration policies now is because Congress is really afraid to make any decisions on immigration. And we'll talk a little bit about the power of Congress over immigration laws and what Congress has powers over. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you all today. As ThaoMee said, I'm Judith Teruya. I'm the executive director of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or CAPAC, because that's a really long name. And we are, thank you, we're the organization in Congress that represents the members of Asian American, Native Hawaiian, or Pacific Islander descent. And so we have 21 members, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander members, elected to Congress right now who are in CAPAC. And then in addition to that, we also have ally members to our caucus. So maybe interview numbers who are not AAPI themselves, but who represent a really high proportion of Asian Americans in their district. So someone like Dan Goldman, who represent New York City's Chinatown, he's one of our members. Or Jimmy Gomez from LA, who has Little Tokyo and a bunch of Little Korea, he's one of our members. And so we have the power of CAPAC comes in that we are 82 members total, and even though not all of those members are API themselves, they have all come together with us to band together to say that this community, these constituents of ours, and their priorities really matter. And so that is sort of how we, as a caucus, then try to figure out how do we insert our priorities or make sure that as large moving pieces of legislation are getting negotiated or being developed, that our community's priorities are at the table, are being heard, and are incorporated into that legislation.
Thank you. So I first want to know how many people have met their congressional member before? Okay. So then is it safe to also assume you've met them and spoken to them? Okay, who's spoken to their congressional member in a meeting? Okay, great. So we have some people who's never met their congressional member? Who's never gone to a congressional office? Okay, so like a third. That's good to know because this is a little bit basic and we'll try to not make it so basic. So it was great that the previous panel actually, I'm trying to go to the next thing. Oh, here, my education. It's always good to be armed when you go to a legislative meeting with some information about your community. Because as they said earlier, how do we prepare for the 2026 elections, right? You'll find that most people don't know data about Asian Americans. So not only do you have to educate yourself about Asian American data, you have to educate your legislators, right? And bring those facts to them are really important. Half the time they won't know that Asian Americans are the fastest growing population in the US. What does that translate to when we're the fastest growing population? Can people raise their hand and then I'll point to you and then you can give an answer and say it loud? Yes, voting power. What else? Yes, taxes. Empowerment, yes. Okay, great. So it means more tax dollars. It also means that you may or may not gain more college votes. The electoral college votes, right? Minnesota almost lost one of our congressional members because they were afraid that our population was decreasing. So that's why, one, it's good to know your data, and two, also take the census. Next, I just wanted to give a few statistics, easy ones to remember. Don't overwhelm them with numbers. Give them just one or two facts. And sometimes don't even give them three. Just one or two facts because they're not going to remember it. And repeat it like 9 times. So earlier they said that there was nearly 25 million, in 2023, nearly 25 million eligible Asian Americans in the U.S., which is 7% of the population. So we make up 7% of the population. And in the state of Minnesota, we also make up 7% of the population. So not only am I giving you national data, it'll be really good for you to know state-specific data. And AAPI Vote has state-specific data, so you can go and look up California, Minnesota, and they'll have a fact sheet for you. The other thing that's really important to know, if you're in these communities, is you can share that as a Chinese American, you are the fastest or the largest Asian American population in the U.S. But in Minnesota, it would be Hmong people, right? So it's good to know what's happening locally, nationally, and then framing it locally. Because your congressional member is going to care most about what's happening in their state. So who's going to a congressional meeting this afternoon? What? I see 10 people. Is that true? Okay, good. Then educate your friends who show up later. That the person who lives in the congressional district of that congressional member should be the first one to probably speak. Or whoever is speaking should say, this is your constituent, and that person should introduce themselves and say where they're from and so on and so forth. We'll go into that more detail with that in a bit. This is just some eligible voter data because we did civic engagement in 2024. And then this is specific to Minnesota, and you can find all of this on APIA votes. And I do want to express that nationwide, some of the key challenges for Asian Americans is language access. And in Minnesota, these are the top 5 languages, Asian languages that are spoken. And so what we did in Minnesota was push for legislation to make sure people had access to language services if they needed it. And in certain districts, if they meet the percentage requirements, they have to have interpreter on site. And in one of the counties, we are federally required by the civil rights law to have interpreters and translated ballots. In the past 4 election cycles, we've been monitoring that county. It's Ramsey County. And the first 2 years, they did a horrible job. They would post voter ballots and voter signs in Hmong, but no one could tell where they were. And no one was told that there were voter ballots in Hmong. And then the interpreter was sitting like way back there, and the voters would come here and have to vote right here. So they didn't even know interpreters were there. But this past year, it was amazing. They had a greeter who would direct people if they need an interpreter. They would say, if you speak Hmong, here's the Hmong language information, and there's also a Hmong ballot. And then if people didn't know how to read Hmong but couldn't speak English, they also had a Hmong translator there to be able to interpret. You can also translate for people if you go there. You don't have to be a designated interpreter. So one of the polling stations, they didn't have an interpreter, so our volunteers ended up interpreting for everyone who came through. And I want to point out, Kayang, even though she's a very busy, very important, and very famous Hmong American and Asian American, she volunteers every election day to translate, to interpret, to help people. That's how important she thinks voting is. So huge hand applause for Kayang. And I mean it seriously because it's really important for individuals like us to be out at the voting polls. If we don't show up, then how can we encourage other people to be motivated and go and show up, right? So they need to see us first. I am going to, and also there's federal and state laws to allow for voter and language access. I'm going to hand this part over to Judith, and I have the answers for you, Judith, but you can ask the room these questions.
I'm going to modify the question.
Yes.
What branch of government's building are you all sitting in right now? I heard a whisper. Could you say it a little louder? The legislative branch. Okay. So for us in Congress, when you all are thinking about going to do your advocacy meetings, a lot of what you're going to see when you're walking down the halls, if you've never been here before or never been to a congressional office, is going to be dictated by what's going on in this wonderful, chaotic place that we come to visit. And our calendar for Congress is designated into 2 halves. We have days that we're here in session where the members are doing their legislative business, and then there are days where they're back home in their district work periods. You all should know you can always, when you're back at home, go and ask for a meeting with your member at their district office. You do not have to come to DC to do that. In fact, that is some of the most effective ways to make sure that your local issues are being heard by the staff. If there is an issue that you know of in your community, meeting with the member in the district or asking them to come to the community center, the street, the post office, where there's whatever it is that is the issue, you can do all of that at home as well. But when our members are here, there's a couple of different types of legislative business that they will do. And I know I heard some interest in maybe doing hearings. There's a bunch of hearings happening today. And so every member has committee assignments. We have, different types of committees that have different jurisdiction, and each committee is responsible for one doing hearings that are getting information from expert witnesses or from doing oversight of the federal government. And right now, you might walk by the third floor or second floor. I think it's actually on the second floor of this building. There will be a lot of cameras because the FBI director is right now being questioned by the House Judiciary Committee. I was watching right before this. It's very testy. You all are able to go in. There may not be seats available, but you can stand in the back of the room. The committee hearings are always open, as long as it is not a classified hearing. And there are a couple of special committees where that is true. The other thing that you might see if you're going into a committee room today is what we call markups. Now, this is committee business where they are amending or editing bills that the committee is responsible for reporting to the whole House. So before a bill can be voted on by all, 400 some odd members of Congress, the committee has to make sure that it has, by a majority of votes, sometimes unanimously, sometimes not, if it's a bipartisan bill, gone through the process of being edited and reviewed by all the members of that committee. So if you're interested in seeing some of this, the website that I would direct everybody to find out all of this information is if you go to congress.gov. Really simple. You can find out all of the information on your member. If you want to know what your member has co-sponsored, what they have authored as a bill that they have introduced, all of that is on congress.gov. And you can also every week go and find all of the committees that are doing hearings, that are marking up bills, and it just has it all in a nice little format. Where are we going down the list? Sorry, I'm trying to see the thing. Yes. Does anybody in the audience know what the difference between a state bill and a federal bill, or what a state legislator covers and what the federal legislators cover? Yeah. So your state government is going to be looking at more local things your governor can control, things that do not require, a federal agency necessarily being involved. We're predominantly looking at how do we make the federal government spend money, allocate resources, make the agencies behave better. How do we interact with foreign countries? Those are things that are happening here. Every once in a while right now, because this administration is testing some of those limits across the different branches, we will take up bills or we will have hearings that may impact your state or your particular city. So this week, we have a lot of bills on the floor that we're talking about that are about how the police in DC can operate. Because the federal government and the Republican majority is making an argument that there should be the ability for the federal government to dictate some of the DC city operations. And I know that's a little bit different because DC isn't a state, but every once in a while you'll see in Congress, or you might hear back home, there is this issue coming out that may dramatically impact your state. And we're seeing that a little bit more right now under this particular administration.
Okay. So I wanted to just echo quickly that the three branches of government is executive, legislative, and judicial. And the executive branch, you have these three branches of government both at the federal level and the state level. And so oftentimes people are like, how do I distinguish between who is my U.S. representative versus my state representative? So you actually say state representative is so-and-so, or my U.S. representative or congressman or congresswoman is so-and-so. And so today, all the people that you meet, if it's in this room, it's going to be your representative, or you can just call them congressperson or congresswoman or congressman. And then the other thing too is congressional members draft up the bills. So if you want a bill introduced, only a congressional member can do that. And same for the state. Only an elected official in the House or in the Senate. So the legislative branch is made up of both House members and Senate members. So that's important. And it's parallel in the state and in Congress. And I'm sharing both of this because it's going to be easier for you to pass a bill at the state level than it is at the federal level. The federal level, it could take years, decades, centuries. Like immigration, no one wants to touch that, and everyone says we can't change anything until we have comprehensive immigration reform. But no one actually wants to work on comprehensive immigration reform, right? So, so then we had to use a strategy of what can change at the state level, and then start making state level changes. But members are crafty. They'll tell you, well, immigration is a federal issue. We can't do anything about it. But then you have to say, but what is within your power is this specific thing. So you kind of have to do your research. So one today is Google the person you're going to meet so that you know, one, if what committees they're on, because those are the items they're going to care most about. Or you ask them, like, what are you working on in your committees? So you can just vaguely refer to a committee and they can share with you. Okay, the reason why you need to know this is because we're going to do a little bit of role playing. I have one more slide. These are the answers. Executive branch signs a bill into law or can veto the bill. The legislative branch writes the bills, and the judicial branch interprets the laws. For the state of Minnesota, who's from Minnesota? Okay, who wants to? The one in green. Sorry, will you stand up and tell us who these people are?
Amy Klobuchar, Tina Smith, and Kelly Morrison.
Look at your partner. And also because he's like the policy director for SEWA, so good job. So the first two are U.S. Senators, and Amy Klobuchar is the senior senator, and Tina Smith is the junior one, but she's not running for election again, so there is already a really hot race for her seat. And then Kelly used to be a state representative and then became a state senator and now is a U.S. representative. And she represents a few of us who live or from Minnesota, our district. Yeah, Congressional District 3. Look at you. You should be up here. Okay. So earlier, Judith said go to, what was the?
Congress.gov.
Yes. You can find who represents you there too, or you can Google who represents me in Congress and then go to that link. Okay. So I provided it here and then I forgot it. So I just asked this quickly. Who can introduce a bill? I literally just gave you guys the answer. Okay. Remember when I said raise your hand? Yes. Yes, congressional members. Very good. How can you find a bill? Yes. Very good. How can you find a congressional hearing? Very good. How can you schedule a meeting with a congressional member? Yep, website or give them a call. You may not get a meeting the first time, but try again. Because they actually really do want to meet with you.
Can I add something there? Yes. To me? A lot of members, this is something that is sort of developed in Congress, I think, post-COVID, where a lot of us, we were not in the building because of either law requirements about how many people could be in a closed space or whatever. A lot of members' websites now have a form. So you can go to their website, fill out the form, and I would say give them maybe 3 days. Give them a solid 3 days, business days. And if after 3 business days you haven't heard back, give them a phone call and let them know that you filled out the form. Because sometimes that form, and this is just a little tip, on the back end, we have a whole system that it takes those inquiries on the back end and then gives it to the staff in this nice little spreadsheet email. And sometimes there are just tech delays. Sometimes we have a problem. And sometimes it's that the office is being bad and not responding to you on time. So don't be afraid to give them a couple of days, call them, make sure they know that you fill out the form, make sure they can find your request on their back end, and then move forward with scheduling the meeting.
You call the local district or the office here?
Whichever office you're asking for the meeting to happen in. So if you're coming to DC, you want to call the DC office. If you're going to the district, you call the district office. But the form online is one form. Yeah.
Please use those forms because they are really helpful. And even if you get them on the phone, they're still going to make you go back and fill out the form. So just fill out the form. Okay, so I put this in here because we talked about voting earlier, but do you organize a candidate forum, or has anyone in here organized a candidate forum before? You've organized a candidate forum? Where and who? In Sacramento with what level of government? Very good. So this year, CAAL is going to organize a mayoral candidate forum, and you invite everyone, because if you're a nonprofit, you invite everyone, and they get to choose if they want to come. So you have to invite independents, the Green Party, Republicans, Democrats, and they choose whether or not to come. And you can put on your advertisement, invited, you can just put next to the name invited so people know. That way you're not accused of being partisan. And then if only one party shows up, well, you invited everyone, they didn't want to show up. But it will look really bad if they don't show up. So you should organize candidate forums. For the next part, how to build a relationship. The best time to build a relationship with an elected official or someone who wants to be an elected official is when they are a candidate. Two things. One, you get to build a personal relationship because they want something from you, either your vote or your network. And two, you tell them what's important to you to make sure they're the right candidate you want to vote for. Okay? Because then when you go to your congressional meetings like today, it'll make the meeting way more meaningful. Because you can say, I met you when you were a candidate, do you remember me? And this is the issue that I cared about. I'm here to follow up to see, like, what have you done on this issue? And I'll just use education. It's a very easy issue. So you can just say, you said you were going to push for more funding for education. I saw that the budget passed and funding was actually decreased for education. And then you can ask them more questions. Okay, so we are now going to role playing. I know people love to role play. So the individuals, I think I'm gonna have some folks help, okay? I need you, this is gonna be a total of 5 minutes. 1 minute to prep, 4 minutes to role play. And there's gonna be 2 role plays. So I'm actually, who wants to be a constituent? Raise your hand. Constituents, raise your hand. Do you want me to volunteer? Told? Okay. The people who have not gone to congressional meetings before, I think you 3, have you guys been in congressional meetings before? No? Okay. You 2 are gonna go to a meeting with Judith. She's gonna be a legislator. Okay. You guys should get up and go over here. And then when I tell you to prep for 1 minute, you do that. And then, let's see, who else has not gone to, who else wants to be a constituent? You 2 want to be constituents? Okay. Well, you can be a constituent, and then Kaying can be a constituent. And who wants to be a legislator? Oh, who wants to be a legislator? So Kaying and that woman right there, you guys are going to be constituents. You guys go over here. And then I'm actually going to make you a legislator. Yes. So you guys go over there. You guys talk amongst yourselves, and they're going to get organized, and then they're going to get 4 minutes each to role play. And then you guys are going to critique them and watch what you should or should not do. Okay? And pretty much I've given away all the answers on the slide. So the first team is going to be you guys. You guys come up here. Go. You go first.
Okay. Hi, it's nice to meet you. And I'm Eugene from Dallas, Texas. So we are coming here, glad to see you, meet you today.
I love Dallas. Everything is bigger and better in Texas.
We agree too, and that's why we're here to meet with you, because we love the color red.
It's a good color.
Yes.
That's my favorite color too.
Thank you very much for making time for us. My name is Kaying Xiong, and I'm also from Dallas. We both have children, we're mothers, and I'm a stay-at-home mom.
I'm a working mom and with the 2 kids, and education definitely is a big thing. I want them to have, the enough education to have be a kind of person, independent person, with a good education.
Well, the Department of Education has absolutely been run into the ground. It's been so horrible the last 4 years. They've done absolutely everything wrong. I think President Trump is really helping us get back on track with this current Department of Education. I hated the old Department of Education.
Well, thank you for reconfirming that. I think this is why we're here to meet with you, because we're really concerned about the lack of funding that states already have. And your daughter plays a harp, and I know that that's really important to you. Music is so important to our children's development, but we want your support in ensuring that more federal funding flows down to the state level.
I think arts funding is absolutely just a waste of money. The taxpayer shouldn't be paying for music lessons.
Well, music is kind of art, to speak the language without any barrier. And we think it's very important as well, no matter the gender, the age, that's what we want the kids, to experience that. But with that budget cut, the harp is, even though it's small, a group of people playing, but it is very unique and it makes a difference. We really value it. And hopefully someday,
30 more seconds.
And Senator Teruya, I noticed that you're from Hawaii, and harp is like aloha music, where you can, you have ancestors from Hawaii, and so I'm trying to make a net connection. Your ancestors are from Hawaii, and we feel like harp is like an aloha spirit, where you can dance, and it's a softer kind of musical instrument. And so we hope that you will be sympathetic to the issues that we're working on.
Sorry, I have to go.
We want to know how we can meet you again at the local level in Dallas.
I'll let my staff know, but I don't think I'm going to change my mind about this.
Okay, our next group, because we only have 4 minutes left. Because Judith has to leave exactly 12:30, so I want to make sure she has time. Our next group? Okay, watch what they did that wasn't right and then fix it, okay?
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can start.
I'm Shruti. I'm a constituent in Massachusetts.
Good morning. My name is Joyce. I'm also a constituent in Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Warren.
We want to talk to you about language access. As you know, Massachusetts has a huge non-English speaking population. Their primary language is not English. So, and we are an organization that serves
That's wonderful.
non-English speakers. We do encounter a lot of challenges before courts, before different government agencies where language access is an issue. Our clients end up feeling lost in translation, and we'd like you to help us support our initiative on promoting translations at the various departments within the government.
If I may add, so we're working from ATAS, which is an organization that's supporting marginalized communities who are domestic violence survivors. And what is hard and what is personal for us, it really is that we see our survivor when they're reaching out for help. It has been an underreporting number for them to reaching out for help. And once they finally decide to do so, there's a very little resources and actually very difficult for them to navigate in the system. And I know, Senator, how you are working very hard to support the marginalized communities. So I'm really hoping if we could possibly extend this conversation further, and if we can exchange our contact or in any way that we can have a further and deeper conversation and to see how maybe we can collaborate and work this together.
Yes, so we have heard so much about you. I was there when you visited Boston last month.
Yeah, wasn't that great? I had a great time. Yeah.
Yes. So, and I really appreciate you standing up for immigrants, standing up for people who are trying to make Massachusetts their home. That's where the immigrant story of America starts.
Yeah, all in a day's work.
Yes. So we'd like to connect with you, talk with you more, present our ideas to you to say, so how can we go about doing that?
I mean, have you connected with our local office?
Done that. We have do testimony, and we have come to different places, and I think it would be great. And I feel like we can definitely have more connection and more work done together.
Great, wonderful.
Great, thank you. Okay, everyone, you guys can get on stage, and I want to ask, what did this group do that was really great that the other group didn't do? If you guys were paying attention. Actually, they were both very professional, because it was a conversation. It was a conversation. Yep. What did they do when they first got into the meeting and introduced themselves? Oh, they are very overqualified, yes. But they said they were constituents. Don't forget, you should tell them that you're from their state. And you don't have to use the word constituent. You just say, hi, I'm from Massachusetts. And, I work on this, and this is my organization. And so it's up to you if you want to say you're part of the Asian American Unity is it Summit? Do you want to call it the Asian American Unity Summit? Or if you're part of your own organization, you can say you're from both, that you're here for this reason, right? Okay, what else did they do really well? Yes. Yes. Great. Yes. Yes. Exactly. So be calm. They're just a normal person. What great thing did the senator ask? Local office. Walk away with getting contacts both in the federal office and the local office, because most likely you're going to be working more with the local office, and sadly they have less to do. So you should probably connect with them. The other thing too is anything that you thought they could do better, because most of the time you're not going to get a lot of time with them. If you get 15 minutes, that's a lot of time. So that's why I wanted to do 5 minutes, because you're lucky if you're going to get 5 to 15 minutes. Very good. Because you want to learn about the senator, right? So when you demonstrated that you knew a lot about your senator, but you should say, can you tell me more about this? Why were you so passionate about it? And then, say something about your organization for maybe a minute or two, but really this is the opportunity to hear from them. So any other thoughts of what they could have done better? I said business cards, and they have electronic business cards, so they'll follow up in an email. And even if that's why you want their business card, because then you'll actually get an email versus having to do the electronic form. And they might make you also still go back and do the electronic form, right? Okay, last group. You guys just stand up here, and then what did you think of this group? What did they do well?
We like the color red.
Yes.
I mean, it was clearly a more hostile discussion, but they kind of kept at it. They didn't seem dejected at all.
Great, because you're not always going to get someone. So you might get someone who's half asleep, someone who's just really attentive, doesn't say anything, or someone who's combative with you, okay? So I wanted you guys to see that, because if they say things that you don't like, then you still always thank them and then pivot and tell them what you care about. So I thought you guys did that really well.
I also just going back to one thing that ThaoMee said about the other panel, if you guys know you're in front of a member who is supportive of your policy issue, who is on the same side of the issue with you, ask them what support they need to get it across the finish line. Members really like knowing that there are people at home who are engaged on the issue, who are willing to write letters, knock doors, make phone calls. And so ask them, if it's about a bill that they're stuck, what support do you need? How can we mobilize more effectively to clear this hurdle, to get over this barrier, whatever it is. And the member you might learn something that the member is not saying publicly in that meeting. That is like, oh, well, here's the person that we really need to work on. Do you know anyone in this city? And if it's someone who's hostile, maybe you ask them, have you talked to your constituents? Can we have a meeting with you at home to show you this thing? Just try to find ways, I think, to also show that you're aware that there might be roadblocks that we don't know publicly, and wanting to help when it's someone who is on the same side as us, I think is really important.
Maybe you can keep monitoring like how to deal with a hostile legislator.
Kai-Ying and Eugen, how would you deal with a hostile legislator?
I thought we were trying so hard to connect with you, saying you were from Hawaii. You disagreed that you're from here, but I think the point is to really try to make the connection again. And usually what I do is I walk into the office, I look at what they have around the walls that I have in common with. So for Minnesota, a lot of people like to hunt and fish. They'll probably have pictures of that. And so then usually Hmong communities, they love to hunt and fish as well too, so they start bonding around that. And so for Judith, we didn't know her that well because we do our research, so we only liked her red dress, right? But that's why it's important to do a little bit of research. But if you haven't, get in there because they always put things that they love around the room, And so I think that's one important thing. The second important thing is that we never gave up. We still tried, right? Even though she got up and walked away, we still say, hey, your office, can we come back? Even though it was a little bit short. And I tried to connect it with hula and music because personally she's from Hawaii, so I kept trying to do that. Yeah.
There was one other thing that Eugen did that was really, really good. Who saw or noticed what happened, even if you're in a hostile environment? Smile and courtesy. She told a personal story. My daughter, my school. We need this education. Even if it feels like it's falling on deaf ears, the most powerful story you're going to be able to tell is the story about your kids in that district, because they're the ones who are going to grow up, and in the back of that member's mind, they know that that's their future constituent. So don't be afraid to tell the personal story and make sure that that's the thing that is left with, whether it's the staffer or the member. This is my child in your district who you are talking about impacting in X, Y, and Z way. That personal story is always, always going to leave an impact.
I was also trying to do what Congressman Wu said. For our Republicans, they like the stay-at-home moms, right? They like the family, lens. And so I said I was a stay-at-home mom. She said she was a working mom. So we are also very powerful, right? We're women who are taking care of our children and so forth. So you don't have to be a professional. You could be impacted communities, and the impacted communities are the parents of children. Right?
Well, you should value everyone that you're speaking with. One, because you don't know what connection. It could be an intern, but it could be their nephew. That's their intern. Or it could be their godson, who's their nephew.
Congressman Wu, you want to say?
Can you be showing your anger to a staffer mild?
No.
Never, ever?
No.
It's
God,
I-
Congressman.
Can I put on hold, I put on this presentation for a state level as well. This is actually one thing I say to everyone. Sometimes talking to the staffer is better.
Yes.
Because you may have a member who is not all there, or they just don't care, or they hate you, or they're thinking about their divorce or whatever is going, but you have a staffer, that is their sector of work. That it is their job to pay attention to this issue. You sell them, you now have an advocate inside their office.
Yep. And can you share if they're a chair of a committee member, their staffer who
handles everything.
yes. So they will know everything. So it's great to have FaceTime with the elected official, but it's usually the staffer who understands the substantive policy issue that you're trying to push.
Like everybody knows, my chief of staff actually runs everything. And based on that, anyone who has ever disrespected any of my staff is on my dead list.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you are, Democrat, Republican, nothing. If you disrespect my staff, you are cut off. And that is point blank. And so say, some members don't care about their staff, but there's other people who go the opposite direction. Like if you do anything to their staff, they will be very protective. And so be professional to everybody, but be even nicer to staff.
And I want to say that at the federal level, the staff is actually really powerful because they're the filter of everything. When you're at the state legislator, it's the legislator that you're meeting with mostly because in Minnesota, one staffer will share several legislators, so they don't have the content information. But here at the federal level, the staff has content information, so it's really important to share all that you can with the staff.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Judith. Yes. But I want to say, because we're nonprofit and we're nonpartisan, we actually don't encourage people to go to fundraisers because that makes us partisan. So I just wanted to say good advice, but we do not encourage that because it becomes very partisan. And then with that, I think there's one last comment and then we're going to wrap up because I'm eating into your lunchtime. One thing.
They never have a lot of time, so don't talk too much, right? And get to your ask right away because they never have a lot of time, and this is the luxury that we actually have.
Yes. 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 And have fun, you guys, because they're going to remember your meeting more if you're having fun and you're either don't be competitive, but they'll remember something if you're actually having fun. So thank you. Enjoy your lunch.